You're not going to believe this. The same folks who were marching in protests holding signs that said ban all guns? Yeah. They're now walking into gun stores, background check in hand, and leaving with a Glock, a shotgun, or even an AR-15. It's the kind of twist that makes you do a double take. Liberal anti-gunners, some of the loudest voices against firearms just a few years ago, are now quietly, or not so quietly, becoming first-time gun owners. We're talking college professors, LGBTQ plus activists, moms in yoga pants, even card-carrying socialists. The irony? Off the charts. But this shift? It's real, and it's not just about politics anymore. It's fear, it's crime, it's uncertainty. And it's changing the face of gun ownership in America right under our noses. So, what's going on here? Why are so many people who once opposed the Second Amendment now embracing it? Let's break it down, because the story behind this movement is deeper and wilder than you think. All right, let's rewind the clock for a second. For decades, America's stance on guns was pretty cut and dry. Conservatives loved them, liberals didn't. Gun shows were red meat country, full of camo hats, "Don't tread on me" flags, and talk radio blaring from truck stereos. Liberals? They were more likely to support buyback programs, red flag laws, and strict background checks. That's just how it was, and the numbers backed it up. In 2017, Pew Research found that around 44% of Republicans owned guns. Among Democrats, just 20%. Huge gap. And culturally, the divide was even bigger. Owning a gun was almost a political identity. You'd hear things like, "Why do you need an AR-15?" or "Only the police should have guns." That kind of talk dominated the left-wing conversation for years. But then, something started to change. Fast forward to 2020, pandemic chaos, violent protests, rising crime, and suddenly, the old narrative started cracking. People were scared, real scared. Police were overwhelmed, stores were looted, entire neighborhoods felt like they were on their own. And that's when a whole new crowd started walking into gun stores. Progressives, liberals, anti-gun activists turned gun owners. It was subtle at first. A few buyers here, a few range selfies there. But it didn't stop. Some gun stores began reporting 40 to 50% of their new buyers were self-identified liberals or independents. No camo, no MAGA hats, just people who felt unsafe and wanted a way to protect themselves. And we're not talking about just picking up a pistol and calling it a day. These folks were asking about optics, comparing barrel lengths, taking concealed carry classes. The same people who once shouted "no guns in our schools" are now Googling "best home defense shotgun under $600. It's a full-blown flip. And honestly, it makes sense. Because when fear knocks at your door, ideology doesn't mean much. So now the big question, who exactly is buying these guns? We're not talking about your average rural hunter or ex-military guy. Nope. The new wave of gun owners looks completely different. And their reasons for buying? Even more surprising. Take a walk through a modern-day gun range in Los Angeles or Brooklyn, and you might see a 20-something college student, rainbow patch on their jacket, loading up a 9mm with precision. Or a young black woman with zero interest in politics, learning how to clear a malfunction like she's been doing it for years. Many of them are members of the LGBTQ plus community, folks who, frankly, don't feel safe anymore. Hate crimes are up, tensions are high, and when the world feels unpredictable, people want something, anything, that puts the odds back in their favor. A firearm to them isn't a political statement anymore, it's a lifeline. Others are buying because they simply don't trust anyone else to protect them. Law enforcement budgets are cut, response times are slower. And let's be real, most criminals aren't checking your voter registration before they break into your apartment. These new gun owners aren't prepping for civil war. They're not hoarding ammo in underground bunkers. They're just regular people realizing, hey, maybe the gun folks were onto something. And with that realization comes a whole new wave of interest. Training classes are filling up. Firearm safety courses are getting booked by people who once thought guns were evil. The stereotype of the gun owner is breaking apart, and the new face of the Second Amendment? It might just surprise you. Let's zoom in for a second because these aren't just statistics. They're real people, with real stories, doing things they never thought they would. Tom Nguyen is a perfect example. He founded a group in Los Angeles called LA Progressive Shooters. Yeah, you heard that right. Progressives, with guns, Their goal? To create a space where left-leaning folks could learn about firearms without the judgment, politics, or tough guy attitude that sometimes comes with gun culture. They train hard. They take safety seriously. And after every session, they sit in a circle and talk about de-escalation, community care, and what self-defense really means in a modern world. Not your typical range crowd, huh? Then there's the 901 Brothers Sisters Keeper Gun Club out in Memphis, a chapter of the National African American Gun Association. Their focus? Black women, moms, grandmothers, sisters. They're teaching situational awareness, how to handle a firearm responsibly, and what to do if things go sideways. These aren't extremists. These are community protectors. One member said it best. If I'm waiting for someone else to save me, it might already be too late. I'd rather be ready. What you're seeing in places like these is empowerment. Not aggression, not paranoia, just people from all walks of life stepping up and saying, I deserve to be safe. And that changes everything. Now here's where things get interesting, because while liberals are arming up, the traditional gun community is watching. Some with open arms, some with a raised eyebrow, some, well, let's just say they're not thrilled. There are die-hard Second Amendment folks who are all about it. They say, good. Took you long enough. Welcome to the club. For them, more gun owners mean more votes, more voices, and more protection against restrictive legislation. But others? Not so welcoming. There's a bit of a, you don't get to show up now and pretend like you've always been on our side vibe. And honestly, can you blame them? For years, they've been painted as dangerous, irresponsible, even evil, by the same people who are now buying the very tools they tried to ban. It's complicated. There's this underlying tension. Are you really pro-2A now? Or are you just scared until the next election? Still, gun ranges are more diverse than ever. There's chatter in Facebook groups, forums, even on YouTube comments, from longtime gun owners saying things like, hey, they're learning, just like we all did. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you voted for, when you're standing at the range next to someone who's just as serious about safety and just as committed to responsible ownership, politics fades away. And maybe, just maybe, this cultural collision is exactly what the gun conversation needed. So here's where it gets almost poetic. The same people who once rallied against gun ownership are now carrying. The irony? It's thick enough to cut with a bayonet. But it also says something deeper about where we are as a country right now. This isn't just about fear. It's about control over your safety, your family, your space. And once someone feels that sense of empowerment, it doesn't go away easily. That's why so many of these new gun owners aren't just panic buyers. They're taking training classes, joining clubs, learning the law. They're not looking to hand that power back. And that's where things really start to shift. If gun ownership becomes normal across the political spectrum, then what happens to the gun control debate? If both sides are armed, do the old arguments still hold up? Will we see left-wing politicians push to protect gun rights for their own base? Already we're hearing stories about liberal gun clubs sending reps to city council meetings, fighting local restrictions, demanding better access to ranges, permits, and carry laws. Just a few years ago, that would have been unthinkable. Now, it's reality. And here's the kicker. When you strip away the party lines, the slogans, the media noise, everyone kind of wants the same thing. To feel safe. To not rely on someone else when seconds count. To have options. What used to be a right-wing thing is becoming a life thing. Gun ownership isn't changing. But who's doing it? That's changing everything. So here we are, 2025, and the gun store parking lot doesn't look like it used to. There's a guy in a Gadsden tee next to a woman in a Black Lives Matter hoodie, both waiting on background checks, both buying their first firearm, and neither one has any idea how we got here. But they both know why. Because safety isn't partisan. Fear doesn't check your politics before it kicks down your door. And when the world feels like it's teetering, people reach for what gives them a fighting chance. That's not hypocrisy. That's human. And maybe, just maybe, this is the bridge we didn't expect. Gun culture isn't just expanding, it's evolving. New faces, new voices, new stories. People who once shouted, ban them all, now whispering, teach me how to use this. You can scoff. You can say, too little, too late. Or, you can realize the Second Amendment just got a whole lot more inclusive. Because when both sides of the aisle are carrying, when both ends of the spectrum are walking into gun shops, asking questions, getting trained, that's not the end of the conversation. That's the start of a new one. And trust me, nobody saw that coming.